I just want it to stop. I just don't want it to be happening here, where there are little kids playing in the park. That, Madam Deputy Speaker, is how one Coventry teen described how he felt growing up in the shadow of knife crime. And he's far from alone. In the national media, knife crime is often talked about as if it's just a London thing, but the truth is it touches young people across the country. 1 in 6 children between the ages of 13 and 17 reported being victims of violence last year, and around half say that violence or the fear of violence affects their day-to-day lives. And things are particularly bad in the West Midlands. According to data from last year, the region had the highest rate of knife crime of anywhere in the country. 178 offences per 100,000 people. That's 5 times higher than North Yorkshire, which ranked bottom. And nationally, knife crime is up a shocking 77% since 2015. But Madam Deputy Speaker, while this House is unanimous in recognising the problem, too often politicians look for quick fixes or put seemingly tough above providing real answers. And what's striking about knife crime is that we know what drives it and we know what reduces it. And that's not easy Daily Mail headline grabbing answers. It's not a matter of locking up more kids for longer while ignoring the drivers of the real problem. Like the actor Idris Elba has warned, and I'd like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to his work in campaigning on this issue, since custodial sentences for young people are associated with high levels of reoffending, proposals like mandatory prison sentences for first-time knife possession are likely to draw young people further into criminality, while failing to tackle the causes of why young people carry knives in the first place. Part of the answer is closing loopholes in the ban on the sale of dangerous weapons, but it's not the whole story. As those familiar with the issue know too well, Britain has a clear example of how to tackle knife crime. 2 decades ago, Glasgow was known as one of the murder capitals of Europe, with one of the highest rates of homicides in the global north. But rather than a simple law and order response, a public health approach was taken which sought to diagnose and prevent violence rather than just reacting after the event. This involved increasing support for young people at risk of getting swept up in violence, and after 10 years, the number of hospital admissions from knife attacks had fallen by 62%. Again, it might not make Daily Mail headlines, but the evidence is there. If young people at risk are offered extracurricular activities like sports programs, if they are offered talking therapy, if they are enrolled in mentoring programs, they are less likely to get caught up in knife crime. In Coventry, we have seen a significant fall in youth crime after an approach similar to what we have seen in Glasgow. Launched in May 2023, the Community Initiative to Reduce Violence programme has sought to identify young people at risk and offer them tailored support to help develop positive routes away from violence, from assisting with housing, health and debt, to access to education. And after 6 months, this programme has been credited with helping cut knife crime almost half in Coventry. Of course, there is more work to be done. And just this weekend, 2 young people were stabbed in separate incidents in the city, and my thoughts go to them and their families. But the evidence clearly shows that providing support for young people at risk, rather than just abandoning them, is the root of this problem. And Madam Deputy Speaker, that's how we address this issue at a deeper level as well. Because while we must roll out these violence reduction approaches across the country, and I'm pleased that Labour's Young Futures programme sets to do that, we know that knife crime has a deeper structural cause as well. There is a wealth of evidence that these social ills are correlated to deprivation and inequality, with countries that have higher levels of inequality and poverty being more likely to have higher rates of violent crime. And this isn't surprising. When young people are abandoned, when job opportunities disappear, when their futures look bleak, it's little wonder that people are angry and feel hopeless. And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, I will finish with this. The answer to kids being scared of knife crime in Coventry isn't locking up more young people for longer. The answer isn't just banning dangerous weapons, however needed that is. The fundamental answer is through offering young people a route away from these problems by giving them the support that they need to get on and giving them hope in their future. And that, Madam Deputy Speaker, is what the next Labour government must do.